Chinese President Xi Jinping will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow as Russia celebrates Victory Day. Upon arrival, Russian state media published an article where Xi thanked Russia for its long-standing friendship and for supporting what he called the unstoppable reunification of Taiwan with China. The Kremlin says the two leaders will talk about the war in Ukraine, tensions with the U.S., and energy cooperation. China is the biggest buyer of Russian oil, a major source of support for Moscow as it faces tough Western sanctions. For more on what Xi's trip might mean for Beijing and Moscow, Aadil Brar spoke to Stephen Nagy from the International Christian University in Tokyo.
What's the significance of Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Russia?
Xi Jinping's to Russia is to demonstrate his support for Vladimir Putin and, of course, Russia as it celebrates its victory in World War II against how the Russians understand their role fighting against the Nazis. But it comes at a broader timing in which increasing pressure by the United States and Donald Trump through the trade war has making things very difficult for the Chinese economy and the leadership in Beijing. By heading to Moscow and participating, at least as an observer, in the celebratory events, it sends a message to Washington that the Chinese can tilt towards the Russians, they can deepen their relationship, and this could complicate the United States foreign policy broader in the Indo-Pacific and in the context of Taiwan.
Media reports suggest China and Russia may sign new bilateral agreements. In which sectors are they expected to make deals?
Well, I think they're going to continue to try and work together on energy import and exports, and that means China's going to try to seek cheaper, more reliable energy from Russia. It is the closest source of reliable energy, and I think that China understands that it's in a strong position vis-a-vis Russia. Second, I think that China may look to Russia in terms of agricultural imports, as the exports from the United States into China now have tariffs. It will be increasingly important that China finds alternative food resources. China does have food security challenges, and it's a major importer of beef, pork, chicken, soybeans.
Given Russia's heightened military activity in the TaiwanPlus and South China Sea, are China and Russia likely to escalate their military posturing in the region?
I think the long-term trajectory, especially if the United States continues to put pressure both on Russia and China, is that Moscow and Beijing are going to try to find ways to coordinate and cooperate in the Indo-Pacific region, in particular the region in and around Taiwan and the South China Sea. But I do think there's real limitations of how much the Russians would like to cooperate within this region. The reality is that they're already struggling to deal with the Ukraine conflict, and they haven't been able to put an end to the war, despite Ukraine being a much smaller country with much smaller numbers of fighting men and women. To have resources being diverted to the Indo-Pacific region, whether it's in and around Taiwan or the South China Sea, may test the limits of Russia's security interests and its capabilities to invest resources in two theaters at once.
That was Stephen Nagy of International Christian University.